Thank you very much for your kind invitation for me to speak to you and address you in the LASCO conference this year. It's always a pleasure to join you. I think I was with you a few years before the COVID, and thank you very much for inviting me today. I bring greetings from our new president, Tony Barry from Australia, who's just been elected as the president of FIDIC about a few weeks ago. I understand that you have a very comprehensive program and you've been so kind to give me 15 to 20 minutes, so I'll try not to abuse my time. Greeting from the whole of the FIDIC Secretariat in Geneva. I'm also pleased to see that you've got my colleague, Thanos Tsesika, who will be speaking to you later on FIDIC Credentialing Limited. I also noticed that you've got my colleague from FCA, Nicholas Matic, also who's be speaking to you. Collectively, we make the international world. I believe that I'm asked to address, FIDIC position and working worldwide. I did send a presentation material. I will try to upload that if your system allows me to do that. And if that's the case, I will probably, take that on board and we can actually share that presentation. I take it. Can you see the view on presentation? Are you able to see that? I take it you are able to see it. Well, I'm just going to go through my slide. Yes, of course, my name is Nelson Ogunshakin. I'm the CEO of FIDIC in Geneva, and where is the headquarters of FIDIC. FIDIC was set up in 1913. I thought it might be a good idea just to do a quick introduction for those who does not know about FIDIC. We represent roughly over 6.5 billion of population around the world. Representing 100 member association who have 40,000 consulting firms and with 1.5 million consulting professionals worldwide. The market that FIDIC members covers is close to 8.5 trillion in the international market, and the scale of economy that you think about for those 100 countries is close to 19 trillion. Some of you may probably said, how is FIDIC structured? We have our board, which focuses on governance. We have the business operation, which is service focused. We have working committee, which is our body of knowledge expert, and we have council, which cover most of our activities. The big word that everybody talks about is climate change. And what does the climate change means? There is a big issue about our core, understanding as FIDIC, which is really about quality, sustainability, and integrity in what we do. You may want to know about how FIDIC is structured. Once we are based in Geneva, we do have global representation from Asia Pacific to Europe to Latin America and Africa and Middle East, and including a recent one, North America. And of course, FCA represents FIDIC in Europe. So Nicola Matic, who's going to be speaking to you, will give you a perspective from European dimension. But across our organization, we represent the member firm who represent the companies. Our board is made up of people from different parts of the world. This particular slide is available to you. And I'm sure that LASCO can make it available to all delegates. Within that, you can see diversity is very key for us to have different people from different parts of the world representing FIDIC across the geography and across the area of expertise, business practice, capacity building, contract, integrity management, membership, risk liability, and the whole of that comes together. When you think about the FIDIC as an organization, the stakeholder for us is our members, including LASCO. But we do engagement through our governance and secretariat. We then focus on our body of knowledge, which is really the expertise. And also we have a key number of objectives. Now, later on, you'll be hearing from Thanos on FIDIC credentialing. We've just set up our academy, which is our FIDIC Academy, the training. But in addition to that, you have our media, you have events and all other activity which we do. Our region is very much focused on how do we deliver corporate services across governance and issue about brand and revenue and advocacy. But the process within FIDIC is to make sure our organization truly represent the globe. You may then ask, what is the challenges that any firm, be it Greek consulting firm, be it European consultancy firm, be it African consultancy firm, what are the challenges? I always like to play with this slide because I think it's very good. One, it shows you the political dynamics of what is going on. Yes, Angela Merkel is going to step down. Yes, we have Biden in America. Yes, we have the China president there. And more important, you have the changes that is going on in Europe in terms of Brexit. But the big elephant in the room that you probably see is what is happening in the time of COVID. COVID has changed the landscape of the world, and we are moving into a new normal. But within that, you can see the industry is getting consolidated. Big data is becoming a big issue. Merger and acquisition is happening. Business model is evolving. And then on top of that, you have COP26, which is the big elephant in the room. What does it mean on climate change? This will impact our industry and the opportunity for great consulting firm. Whether you are working at home, we know that, Greek is suffering from issue a lot of fire. We have the same thing in Australia. We have the same thing going on in America. So the world is changing, and the consulting industry opportunity is changing. But when you look at the consulting industry, you ask the question, where is the opportunity? Well, we are told that the construction is estimated to a 22 trillion business over the year. And we understand that 94 trillion of money is being spent between 2016 and 2040, which tells me we need to look at the real growth in the marketplace. And the view is that the growth that each country have to spend is close to 3.5% of the GDP, which is compared to 3%. Now, the big issue that is affecting the world right now is about climate change. We've had COVID, which is 2 years out of production, but at the same time, the Millennium Sustainability Development Goal of achieving, 2030 or 2050 is a big issue, which means in addition to all the requirement for Sustainability Development Goal, the COVID and the climate change means that there's going to be huge opportunity for consulting practitioners all over the world, including the Greek consulting industry. So how's the market looking? The market is telling us there is opportunity. Energy and resources will continue to be a big area of growth. Business service will be a big area of growth. And you can see the same thing going to technology and media. But when you look at where is the marketplace, of course, North America is still a big market. European market is very big. Asia Pacific is very big. But in 2019 and 2020, we've seen a drastic reduction in the opportunity of close to 28 billion in revenue drop. This means that we need a catch-up. Now, when you look through the whole of the world, you ask, where is the growth? The only area where growth has come out in 2019, you can see it in green. In 2020, the rest of the world has been in red, with the exception of China, which means that there is opportunity for major catch-up. Well, what we've been going through is that in the last 18 months, investment in infrastructure has gone down significantly, and we are now experiencing second and third wave of COVID, which means there's further slowdown. But government all over the world are looking to pump prime the economy, which means that we're going to see a huge investment in infrastructure, in opportunity, and also not only in Greece, but also within Europe. And I know that we'll be talking about Green Deal later on, which means with the climate change and the challenges that you have, you're going to see growth in different parts of the world, which will cause for consulting practitioners to be actually helped to work. Now, when you look at the market, you say, where is the challenges opportunity? The biggest barrier to meeting infrastructure need comes across of lack of finance or funding, lack of political leadership, skill and talent shortage, planning and regulatory barrier, corruption and lack of competition, and none of those issues. Now, if you look through across the world, you see different parts of the world with different challenges. North America is very much of political leadership. Middle East is very much of no planning issue. Asia Pacific, you can see planning and regulatory big issue, but consistently across all this area is the blue tag, which is corruption. So if Greek consulting practitioners are going to work in different parts of the world, both in Greek and outside Greek, we need to be mindful of the impact of corruption and make sure that at least your system, your organization is well capable to do that. Now, let me talk a little bit about the contract procurement. The contract procurement system in different parts of the world is, absolutely the issue. What is important is to recognize that if you want to work abroad, then either it's a single form of contract or framework or multilateral or partnership or alliancing. All of these have different procurement challenges, whether they are regional or local government policy or national or government policy, but each and every one of them, FIDIC is looking at that from the point of where does FIDIC have influence and where does our contract have influence. So our current contract model covers conception and initial program. It covers definition and planning. It covers construction, and we are looking into operational maintenance. So the encouragement here for FIDIC and all our member association, including Alaska member, is that if you are going to work in the international you need to understand and you need to operate within FIDIC contract. At a glance, why does people use FIDIC contract? Because it's standard form, adopted internationally, is applicable within the law, whether it's civil or legal code. Its general condition is fair, is risk and balance, is worldwide accepted by most of multilateral development banks. The particular condition is tailored to suit different projects, an international standard for 60 years. People believe that because of the training and capability and the dispute resolution process, the FIDIC contract is well known. It is international, is supported by a developing country, is when you look at the industrial professional, over 100 advisors and people around the world use it. The industry body understand it, the international financial institution understand it. We have legal communication publication. There is training that is available, and FIDIC best practice is very much in place. So my view on is that if the Greek consulting industry wants to work outside, then you need to understand the way the FIDIC contract is structured. And my take on the structure of the FIDIC contract, it has general condition, it has form, and it has guidance note. We've put in place what we call the golden principle, which are the principle that we encourage that you should not adopt or modify the FIDIC contract. And if you follow those golden principles, you can be rest assured that you have a contract that is sound, well accepted, and is risk averse. The contract document that we have covers different strange. And I've actually got this slide which will be available, whether it's traditional contract, whether it's design and build, or turnkey contract. The contract form we have does cover that. But from consulting practitioner point of view, the white book allows professional services to be appointed. The JV agreement is there, the sub-consulting agreement is there. All these documents are available through FIDIC and that we use them. But it covers the role of the employer, the role of the contractor, the role of the subcontractor. And collectively, it helps to structure business in such a way. Now, the reason why the FIDIC contract is well known around the world, you can see the list of the bank, the World Bank, Inter-American Development Bank, Caribbean Development Bank, EBRD, all these banks, they've now fully adopted FIDIC contract. And I will encourage that for those Greek consulting firms who want to work with international financial institutions, please, find a way to understand the FIDIC contract and to make sure you can actually use it effectively. Because by so doing, you are positioning yourself to be able to win projects in different parts of the world. Now, what do we do on the FIDIC contract? We do try to make sure that we run conferences on FIDIC contract, and we are quite happy to do one with Alaska. We do award, we do training, we do advocacy, then we produce newsletter and the guidance. There's appointment of services and the membership. All of this is because we've been able to have the contract available in English, in Arabic, in Chinese, in French, in Portuguese, and Spanish. And I do believe that my colleague from Halasco in the past may have translated the FIDIC contract into Greek. If you think this is appropriate and you have not translated it, please speak to Thanos or speak to myself. We will be delighted to work with Halasco to make sure you can have the FIDIC contract in Greek so that it helps you to make sure you can work with the international firm. Going forward, document is being translated into so many documents, in so many languages. You can see the list, and the list is very exhaustive. The other thing I've talked about, Chinese influence around the world is growing. And it's important to make sure that if you want to work in any way around the world, that we have the Chinese version. So we have the document fully translated into Chinese. This should make sure that at least those Chinese companies, when they come to your country, be it in Greece, in anywhere around the world, or if you are a consulting firm from Greek and you need to work with Chinese, be rest assured the Chinese contractors and the industry are now using FIDIC contract, which position you to make sure your contract is fair, is balanced, and is not corrupt. We work with a lot of the MDB. We produce a number of documents which we use for the MDB to look at, and we produce those documents to give our members the opportunity and information. So if you need this, these documents are available on FIDIC website. You can download them, and it gives you opportunity, a list of projects, whether it's Inter-American Development Bank is spending $11.3 billion, World Bank is spending $77.1 billion, and EBRD doing $11.97 billion. You can see African Development Bank, Caribbean Development Bank, and all these banks are spending money on capital projects. Huge, huge opportunity for Greek consultant. If you want to work abroad in partnership with other people, I would encourage you to please download this. Make use of it for your business development. It gives you an insight to where opportunities are. Now, you may ask the question, who are heavily involved with using FIDIC contract? Virtually private sector, or private sector, you can see their logo there. The government department, the IFI, and also the United Nations, they're all users of the FIDIC contract, which give you opportunity to know that if you are working with FIDIC contract, you rest assured that the contract will be delivered to time to project. Now, just looking at our activities, for those who are not aware, FIDIC produced a number of state of world reports. We've done one on what is the shortage on infrastructure this year. We produced 2 papers on the global water shortage, and we've just done one on sustainable city. We'll be looking one about technology, and we are looking at climate change. Again, these documents are available to be downloaded on FIDIC website free of charge. One of the things we are trying to do is to make sure our communication is effective, that we can deliver message to our member community all over the world. If you have not, please have a look at our website. It gives you an overview of what else we are doing. Recently, we published our contract newsletter. We've launched Infrastructure Global, a platform that we can do newscasting. And you can see we give award, and we've just produced our annual report. On top of that, I do produce what I call the CEO update. One came out yesterday, provide you update on what FIDIC is doing, chapter by chapter, region by region, including headline. And I think it's important, let's give you some good insight to what FIDIC is doing. Social media is biggie, and it continues to be a big important side. We use that extensively. We think that we can use this to connect into our members and stakeholders to promote what consulting industry is doing around the world. With that in mind, I just want to share with you that we launched our Infrastructure Global, which is a digital platform, and it's an opportunity for you and your member to showcase what is going on in your country. Now, later, after I finish, you will hear from my colleague, Thanos, who will be talking about FIDIC credentialing, which is a practice that we set up, looking at our new qualification system, which will become a global system that qualified consulting practitioner, consulting engineer, contract manager, trainers, and future practitioner. So with that in mind, I'm just going to hand over and see if there is a question that any of you wish to put across to me. With that, thank you very much, Alaska, for inviting me. I hope you find the presentation useful, and I'm here to address any question you wish to put across to me. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nelson, for explaining what does it mean working worldwide with FIDIC. Also, for you explained to us what does it mean FIDIC contracts. And I have one question. According to your experience, if FIDIC contracts contradict with national legislation, what happens?
Right, okay. The FIDIC contract as a structure has general condition and has particular condition. In the particular condition, you have to stipulate what jurisdiction and what law is applicable. If there is a particular section in the document where there is a contradiction, you have to decide between the various parties which particular part of it that you need to amend to make sure that it's in compliance with the national law. So the flexibility is there. We do encourage as much as possible not to change any major part of the FIDIC contract. And that's why we established what I've called the golden principle. For example, in some countries where they feel that the what I call dispute resolution clause is not acceptable. In another word, in every contract, we always stipulate that if there's a dispute or a matter to be resolved on each particular contract, rather than the contract being delayed and disturbed, that the matter should be resolved through DAB or DAAB, which is Dispute Adjudication Board or Dispute Avoidance and Adjudication Board. Now, in some countries, they may probably say, well, that is not allowable, that you have to go into arbitration or you have to go into litigation. We always encourage that, at the beginning of the contract, you have to state which law is applicable. If there is a contradiction, then we always encourage to make sure that all parties into that contract understand the difference and make an amendment in the contract to make sure that compliance with the local law. But most of the parts of the world, And this is why the Multilateral Development Bank, if I may say so, 8 of them, including the World Bank, including the European Investment Bank, all of them, they've adopted the FIDIC contract because they understand that it's fair, it's balanced, and in most cases, it can be easily adjustable to comply with the local law. So my comment to you, my dear friend, is that if in your experience, there have been areas in particular where you feel there's a contradiction with the Greek law, please bring it to our attention. We will do the best to support you and to make sure at the point of formulation of that contract, appropriate changes made in the contract without damaging the integrity of the contract. Thank you.